All right. Good morning to those of you on the East Coast. Good morning also to those of you on the West Coast. I'm your host, Brandon Troy, also co creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. And thanks so much for joining us wherever you're watching from. As you will know, every Saturday we try to make it a point to give you the rundowns of the goings on in pulp culture with our show known only as This Week in Pulp Culture. And of course, I'm never alone in talking about some of these news bits that have made the rounds this week. So it's my pleasure to welcome back to the show my partner in crime, my co-host, What's going on, Sis?
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? How we doing this week? We got lots of topics to talk about. Like I said, it's a problem right now. The Mavericks look like they're in trouble.
They
Boys in
do.
green,
They do.
unfortunately.
They do.
We'll
But we'll
see.
we'll we'll we'll, we'll talk on it. We'll talk on it. Yeah, we will do a quick little deep dive on it. But actually, that will open our show as luck will have it. So let me bring that up now. So we're going to start the show to talk about some of the news bits in terms of the world of sports. And as you will know, we are still within the NBA season. We have two things that we want to chat about today. That being Dan Hurley closing in on the Lakers head coaching job of the team of my co-hosts here. If you unless you've been living under a rock, you know that is his squad. And then of course also what has been the story with the NBA Finals. We had game one over the course of this week, seeing the Celtics beat the Mavs in convincing fashion. However, I have some thoughts on what we might see in this series. But Spillman, I will punt it over to you first. What are your thoughts on the two news bits that we have? We can start first with Mr. Hurley.
Okay, yeah. So, we got rid of Darvin Ham at the end of the season when they underperformed in the playoffs, quote unquote. I feel like, unfortunately for the way the roster was constructed, we ran up into the team we couldn't beat because they're just built differently than we are in a way that counters our offense and stuff. So, I think Dan will be a good addition. Obviously, he's a coach that is very successful, coming off the back-to-back championships. He also has a pedigree of working with high-level organizations. Having, I believe Dan played at Duke. Did Dan played at Duke, right? I think he did, or did he play at UConn? But he played at a major school, and he's in the major level. It's a little concerning though because generally college coaches don't translate well to the NBA, especially ones that are successful. Going back to back in a one and done era like it is, a little bit scary because one and dones are a different breed than career NBA professionals. But we'll see. I'd like to see what kind of offenses and defenses he institutes. I don't feel like Darvin Ham had a system, and I feel like Dan Hurley will. So we'll see. I think that obviously, we need we need a signature coach. I think that that's one thing that Lakers have had in their championship years is a not just a coach that could win the championship, but a coach that can set up a culture. Be it Pat Riley, be it uh, Phil Jackson. We'll see. So I think that that's a good pickup. Well, what do you think about the Lakers pickup?
So I guess I'll say this. I know that there has been a lot of talk of what is it, JJ Redick being a possibility as the head coach. And while I feel that might be quote unquote the sexy pick because it raises a lot of eyebrows and it's not to say that he doesn't have a good basketball mind. He does. He's an analyst. And he's demonstrated in that role as an analyst of his knowledge of the game. Um, at the end of the day, we have to call a spade and say, even though he has demonstrated a good knowledge of the game, he is not coached yet. So, like to have that drastic of a career change similar to what you were saying with the transition of college coaches into the NBA ranks hasn't always, gone as smoothly. Typically, they have to stay as a coach for a little while before they kind of, hit their stride versus immediately, making an impact that first year they transition. The same can be said of those that, you know, kind of skip the entire process of being a coach. Because, like, what normally happens? You have someone who is an assistant coach, for a good couple of years, working under a head coach and kind of, learning the ropes. And then, they get that opportunity to lead a team as the head coach versus someone who kind of like jumps that entire process and hops right into that role. I think it also is a demonstration too of kind of the issue that has kind of been and you can agree with me or not, but when it comes to the Lakers, or I should say any team that LeBron is a part of for that matter, as great as LeBron is, there is, a unfortunate consequence of that, and the consequence being that there's a perception, whether it's true or not, of how much influence LeBron carries with the teams that he builds. And even though he may bring, a cachet, so to speak, with the teams that he's with, and even though, he has demonstrated in the past that he can, lead a team, I don't know so much now, but at least in the past, he's demonstrated that he can lead a team to the finals. Um, there's still, the negative connotation too that while you may have a coach, while you may have any of these folks, whether they're in the front office or in the coaching roles, it's still something that he is having influence over in terms of what's happening there versus it being, you know, a circumstance of everyone kind of playing their part in the success of the team. As much as people would say, no matter who, joins the Warriors, no matter who joins the Warriors, people always agree that it is Steph's team, but at the same time, if something happens in terms of, I feel like the culture of the coach leaving, or this person leaving, or this person being let go, oh, I feel like it would have a different optic in terms of the blame being placed on Steph saying that they needed to go versus a situation with LeBron saying in a very, and you could agree with me on this too. I feel like he could be very passive aggressive in his tackles. He may not, he may try to act a lot of times being innocent of things that he's doing, but in terms of like his behaviors and the things he does, especially in front of the press, give indication in a very passive aggressive way of how he feels about an organization. And a lot of times that I feel, plays a role in the coach being let go in terms of certain things happening amongst the team. But I don't know what your thoughts on that are. So, like, I feel like it's the Lakers demonstration, like you said, of their long-term strategy versus them, trying to make LeBron happy. I feel like making LeBron happy would be JJ Redick. A, because we know that they already have a rapport, but B, because let's be honest, if JJ Redick doesn't have any experience, that gives LeBron an immediate out if, in terms of blame, and if JJ Redick doesn't pan out. Where he's like, oh well, he's not really, doesn't really have experience, or oh well, it is what it is. Like, it's not on me. Like, I feel like by having Hurley in there, it's the Lakers' way of demonstrating, like, yes, LeBron, this is your team, but at the same time, we're preparing for what happens once you're no longer with this team.
Yeah. And I also think that, you look at Hurley. Hurley's been a successful coach everywhere he's been. Like he was, I believe he was Kyrie Irving's coach in high school. He's played a lot. He's done a lot at many different levels. He's actually a basketball coach. Like I don't like, it's been a trend recently where they just find a guy who played in the league a long time and they make him the coach. And I get that, like, the NBA is a fraternity, and you got to have somebody who's been in those locker rooms to lead. But you also don't. You also don't need that. It's been proven over and over again that sometimes you do need a coach because people get out coached all the time. I think that part of the reason why the Lakers had so much trouble with have had so much trouble with the Nuggets is because Darvin Ham be getting out coached. And I think that they want a coach that can actually make changes on the fly in the middle of a series, a coach that can train up the younger players. I think that Darvin did a good job last year with the players that they traded for. A lot of the players had good seasons this year with him. He was way over 500 if you look at his record from the 2 years combined. But being over 500 is not a metric of greatness for the Lakers, and you can't keep your job being just over 500. There's much more to being the head coach of the Lakers than just being over 500. Like, if we were talking about the team that plays on 7th Street, they would have kept Darvin Ham. They'd have been like, no, Darvin Ham is great. We ain't played this well in 10 years. But, to go to a conference finals and not make the finals, that's not what the Lakers do. If we go to conference finals, we lose in the finals. We don't lose in the conference finals. That's not when we lose. So, that sounded a little bit arrogant, but that's how it is. If you're going to make a conference finals, you better make the finals. If we're going to get that close, what's 4 more games? Like, you could lose in the finals. That's okay. But if you're not going to be the conference finals champion and move on to the next round, then we don't want to see you. And, especially with the Celtics being where they are this year, they needed to do something.
And I feel like that's a great segue. I don't know. I saw that, I've been notified that my mic is muffled. Hopefully it's not muffled now. But are we good to go? Still
We're good.
Okay. So I guess I'll say this. I feel like that's a good segue into getting into the finals matchup. Of course, we have the Dallas Mavericks and the Boston Celtics. And the Boston Celtics, as I said, convincingly won game 1. They definitely needed every bit of Porzingis. I feel like it would have been a completely different game had they not had Porzingis. But I know for you, you had discussed the idea that you believe that the Celtics have this series. And I believe we were talking about it offline that the Mavs have shown time and time again their resilience when it comes to any given series that they're in. And they have, started series where they have not been the favorite, A, and B, did not win the first game. So, and lost the first game badly. So, I don't know. I still feel, and I know you said in terms of personnel that you still feel like the Celtics kind of have this in the bag, but I will remind you that no matter how old you may want to say the Clippers are, they still have had 3 MVPs on that team, whether they were former MVPs or not, and managed to still lose that series. Like, under any other circumstance on paper, you would think that they would have been able to move on from that series and beat the Mavs.
Well, I will say that MVP in this case stands for most vacation photos, because that's what those guys have done historically. They be in Cancun taking pictures. And also they won them MVPs almost 10 years ago now. It's a long time ago that they won those MVPs. I love Russell and James Harden, and I love Kawhi Leonard. All of them are great players. They are not the same players that they are today. They are not in their primes. No, there's a reason why they're all playing on the same team. And if they were still playing at the level they would be, they'd be making hundreds of millions of dollars playing on their own team, trying to beat each other. But, the way that the rosters are constructed, the Celtics have 2 stalwart defensive guards and 1 and 2 that they use in tandem sometimes. They don't even use them. They stagger them. So you'll get Drew Holiday, and Drew Holiday will be giving you work. Who is a champion? And then they bring the ball boy out, and then he gets you some work. Then we're talking about defensively. They've got Porzingis, who people forgot was a good perimeter, interior defender, and also floor stretcher. He's a true stretch center. They also have Al Horford, who is playing for his legacy. If Al Horford wins a chip this year, he's going to go down as one of the greatest Hispanic players of all time, if not the greatest. And I haven't even talked about their two best players, the J boys, Jalen and Tatum.
Yeah.
They are offensive and defensive juggernauts, and they only really have to guard one person because the guards that they have will actually guard Kyrie. They can focus on Luka, and Luka got 30 points, but they got blown out the gym because they said, Luka, you can score your 30. We're not going to let the rest of these guys score. The boy that used to play for the Wizards, they not letting him score. They're saying, no. We're not letting you get these dump down plays or you pop and pick and then you come out, get a quick layup. We're not letting you get those hustle plays. Also, nobody's tall enough to play Porzingis. They was all up in Porzingis. He was shooting over them like he was playing against middle schoolers. So I don't see how they can make any adjustments. I think they may win this next game, game 2, but I don't see them winning any more games. I don't see how you can manufacture that much offense. Like, even if they get 60 from Kyrie and Luka, it'll be a 90-point game because I don't see the rest of them guys scoring a lot of points with them scoring like that. So I don't know. What's your idea?
All of those are great points. You know, I agree with all those things that you said. However, at the end of the day, I do believe, I don't think that it's going, I don't feel that it's going to be a blowout series. I don't think it's going to be a gentleman's sweep. I don't think it's going to be a regular sweep. I do believe it's going to be an actual series because just as you said, you were talking about Al Horford, you know, you have Kyrie also playing for his legacy. You know, all this time, you know, the last couple of years, people have been like talking, you know, so much stuff, and I'm putting it in the PG version, so much stuff about Kyrie, and not to say that it wasn't warranted. Like there are a lot of times where I'm like, bro, what are you doing? Like
what are you doing?
Like, what are you thinking? What are you doing? But we can all agree when he's on the court, he's on the court. Like when he's on the court, when he's playing, he's all in. He's you know, focused on what he's doing. He's not focused on anything else. Like we can both agree to that. So to have an opportunity in the same way, if we're picturing, because you know he goes by, you know, that same mantra of being, you know, the legacy of Kobe Bryant, right? Of that Mamba mentality, of having that legacy of knowing that now you have an opportunity to really separate yourself from other great NBA players by saying that, yeah, you know, I was a part of an elite tandem with LeBron James and winning the title with the Cavaliers. But a lot of times people kind of equate the only reason me winning that is because of LeBron, even though I will say that in that series that they did win with Cleveland, Kyrie arguably was the better player in that series in terms of the clutch shots that he had in that series, because he was frying. And I love the Warriors. You know, the Warriors are my team. He was frying the Warriors. So, you know,
I can't. I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. Kyrie is fighting for his legacy, but I don't know if you could say he was like, sure, he hit that big bucket, but the bucket wouldn't have mattered if LeBron wasn't playing the defense that he was playing.
but
I just feel like,
though, I still feel like LeBron would have got his stats, but they wouldn't have won that series without Kyrie.
Oh no, I agree with that. I agree with that. Kyrie definitely won them a series.
It would have been like what you're talking about now with Luka Doncic. He would have got his stats, but they still would have lost.
Yeah,
that series.
Yeah, I can see that.
He was the X factor. So to now actually have further validation that, yeah, like it wasn't just LeBron, like, you know, I had a hand in that, and now I can say that because I won one without LeBron. And better yet, I won it in a year that LeBron lost in the first round, and I got all the way to the title and won with somebody else. Yeah, like I still feel like he's going to have a chip on his shoulder to still prove to people that, even though I don't feel like he needs to, in his head, he's going to feel like he has something to prove. with that series. And then the same thing with Luka Doncic. You know, Luka Doncic is at a point too where we know that he's capable of playing in the postseason. He's demonstrated time and time again of making it to the postseason, but to now finally have your opportunity in the finals, he could basically, establish his legacy now, as early in the career as it is now, to potentially compete for multiple titles if he can demonstrate that he can close the deal this year. Um, and there's something to be said. And after I talked about this previously, I want to say last week when we were talking about this matchup, there's something to be said of being somewhere before and sometimes
Yeah.
thinking too hard on it because you missed your opportunity the prior time versus playing with kind of house money of this now being your first time. So since it's your first time, you don't feel as much pressure to actually win it versus someone who's been there before and is going to overthink everything. So I don't know. I still feel like this is going to be a series. I don't think, as I said, not going to be a gentleman's sweep, not going to be a regular sweep, but an actual series. It's going to go down to the wire, but I still have the Mavs pulling it out, though.
We'll see. I just think again, I like you've said about Kyrie Irving, if he does pull this off, my opinion of him will completely have changed.
Everyone's
Like his
everyone's
levels over time have gone up. Like I remember when he was just in Cleveland before LeBron came back,
yes.
I had him behind guys like John Wall. He's past John Wall to me. He passed John Wall a long time ago. He's
yeah.
past other contemporaries of his. I would take him over, even though he's a bit of a head case. I'd take him over Russell Westbrook at this point.
Oh yeah, sure, for sure.
So he's going up in level. He's not on the Steph Curry level yet, though. But he's now above like a Chris Paul or somebody like that, who is a perennial All NBA player, but never could get the win. And that's ultimately what you play the games for. So to me, I agree with you on that point. If Kyrie and them pull it out, and if they even, I think they may even up the series in game 2. I feel like game 2, they're professionals. They've, been playing a lot. This is their farthest trip, but they made it to a conference finals before, if I remember. I don't think Kyrie was on that team that went to the conference finals, but I just see that if they could win game 2 and break it back even, maybe they could get another game in Dallas, but I don't see them winning. They may not. I don't see them winning game 3. Maybe they win game 4 and make it a 2-on-2, a 2-2 one, but I don't really see that happening. Just with the action as it happened. I didn't see just like in football, there were no trick plays on Monday, on Thursday. There were no trick plays. I don't feel like they were like, all right, we're going to come out and not do what we do. And I feel like they did everything that they do normally. But we'll see. This will be an all-time upset also if Dallas does win because, the Celtics have been the odds favorite since the beginning of the year, really.
Think about this. This will be a repeat of that Cavs series of them not being the favorite and them somehow coming out and closing out the series historically.
Yeah.
And he would have been a part of 2 teams to do that. So, so much surrounding that, but we'll see, as you said. But going into our film and TV news, 2 things that I wanted to be able to highlight was surrounding the principal photography and the series regular reveals for the upcoming prequel series that we have mentioned on here on the show, which is Dexter: Original Sin. And then, of course, Shawn Levy, who you'll soon be able to see his directorial feature, the little film called Deadpool and Wolverine, who is now, as many folks have been speculating, is being eyed to direct the Avengers film. Just to give a little insight into the Dexter prequel series. The additions that we have James Martinez, Christina Milian, Alex Simizu, and then Reno Wilson. The show is going to be set in 1991, 15 years before the events of Dexter, so the original series. And the log line, and this is per Variety, the log line states that the new series will follow Dexter as he transitions from student to avenging serial killer. When his bloodthirsty urges can't be ignored any longer, Dexter must learn to channel his inner darkness. With the guidance of his father, Harry, who we mentioned before is going to be played by Christian Slater, he adopts a code designed to help him find and kill people who deserve to be eliminated from the society without getting on law enforcement's radar. So I think we talked about this, a little bit before, Spillman. That I think you were kind of a casual Dexter fan. So some of these characters that we have, some of these additions that I mentioned playing are, paramount characters within the lore of Dexter. And then of course, Shawn Levy, who is directing the upcoming what is it, Deadpool and Wolverine. What are your thoughts on him potentially taking over for the upcoming Avengers film?
Okay. I'm interested in the Dexter. I really like Christian Slater in Mr. Robot. He was great in that. I think that him playing that mentor role at this point in his career, he really does that well. Surprisingly, who would have known that a leading man will become a great mentor? But he really does well in those positions. So I think that's a great casting. I'm really interested to see what they do with this. Like we said last week, it's a little bit prequels are hard to do where they can be riveting because obviously, we know who's gonna die. And we know who's not gonna die because they're gonna be in they were in the previous series. So it's just interesting to see that. So I'm excited for that. Looking at
I want to be able to the actual photos because I know I have them in a smaller format here on our picture on our gift there, but just so we can, because I want to be able to have it visible for folks to be able to see the exact characters that these said actors are playing, because many of these names you will recognize from the world of Dexter. So James Martinez is going to be playing Angel Bautista. So if we remember, one of the, good friends of Dexter, who eventually ends up having, of course, a stint as uh, one of the bows of one of our other main characters. I'll get into that in a moment, who that is. Of course, we have Vince Masuka, who is, I don't know if Alex is going to be able to replace the our prior actor who played that character, because that character provided so much, comic relief in terms of how like ridiculous and like perverted the character was. Um, but it should be interesting to see if he can, pull off that same quality with that actor in terms of that comedic timing. And of course, Maria LaGuerta, played by Christina Milian. As I said,
shout outs. Shout outs.
shout out. Uh, you
She
know,
from out here. She from Waldorf. Shout out to Christina.
is. But yeah, Maria, if we recall, what happens in the original series, Dexter ends up having a relationship with Angel Bautista. So like I don't know if they want to like plant the seeds for that, or maybe it's just too, early days of them doing that, since it happens, in the original series, which based off of what I gave in the description happens 15 years down the line. And then of course we have Bobby Watt as well. So like in talking about these components, I know we were talking about it last week of sometimes prequels work, right? When it is an instance of a lot of, in terms of the setting, happening like so far ahead of the original series that it allows you to kind of tell another story, and it allows you to still have some suspense involved because it doesn't include characters that you already know their, as you said, their future of. But in this case, it kind of gives me pause because we have a lot of characters from the original series, and we know it doesn't matter how crazy the show gets, they have to survive.
They have to.
To survive. And there's nothing, if memory serves, I mean, there's no other like thing that can bring a level of suspense. Like, did this character lose a leg, or like did something drastic where they ended up in the
They could
wheel?
play Russian roulette. They could take a gun, spin it, and pull the trigger. You know they're not gonna die.
They have plot armor because
Yeah.
they're in the original series. So like I don't know how they're going to be able to pull that off. As cool as it is to see a lot of these characters earlier in their careers, in terms of the under the auspices of a prequel, I don't know how that's going to work. So we'll see what happens. But what are your thoughts on Levy being the director potentially for the new Avengers film?
Well, I am hyped for Deadpool, and it seems like
As am I.
everybody is all in on it. And I feel like this is a case of you win at the college level, you might could get a job with the Lakers if you win two back to back. And
Right.
the fact that it seems that this is a shoe-in for the movie of the summer is the Deadpool movie.
Indeed.
So I think that they put him in there so that they can get that Deadpool vibe. So I'm interested in it. I think that that's a good pick. I think that they should pick people, obviously, who work well with the topic and subject matter. And he seems to understand it with, just all the clips that we've seen. We've seen a lot of clips of this movie. And generally in Hollywood, in my experience, if they show you a lot of clips, that means that this is a good movie, because we know you're going to come and see this movie, even though you basically know what the plot is.
Actually, I will argue. I mean, I get your thought process too. Sometimes it's an act of desperation when they show too much of the films. They're like, please see this movie, please see it.
It
But
doesn't feel that way, though. It doesn't feel that it doesn't feel that desperate in
it
that way for this kind of a launch.
see that.
Like, I don't feel like they've done any of the splashy cameo things that you would see with a bad movie that they're trying to put a lot of people into. So all of that stuff is surprises, but they're showing you like principal photography things every time they put something out. So I feel like this is about to be a shoe-in. So picking him up as the director is good. I think that they need to have something to distract us from the fact that they've been telling us for 4 years that Jonathan Majors was going to be the bad guy in the movie. And then Jonathan Majors threw up all over himself and ruined his career. So I don't know. I think he's a good pick. So we'll see. I mean, once we see Deadpool, we'll know for sure how good of a director or bad of a director he is. So I think that they will be okay. What do you think about it?
So I'll say this: if we're talking about Shawn Levy and the other films that he's done, a lot of them have been quite fun, and he's worked with what is it, Ryan Reynolds before, which is what helped him get this this film. And it makes sense on paper, right? Because if we're talking about Deadpool and Wolverine, it is, from what we can gather with the trailers and everything, that it is essentially a multiverse story. So if it is a multiverse story, and he can demonstrate with this film that he can handle doing a multiverse story with a variety of different characters in addition to Wolverine and Deadpool, it would make sense that Marvel would think that he would be a good fit also for a multiverse story that they're telling with Avengers. So
Yeah.
it makes sense on paper, but at the same time, another reason why I'm for it is that I don't want them to burn out the filmmakers that they've had before. Because I know sometimes when a filmmaker gets burnt out or is asked to tell the story again and again and again, even if it is a new installment, sometimes it can become a little stale, I feel. A good example of that is I feel like if they gave Raimi more time to do Spider-Man 3, that it would have turned out differently than what it was. I know that he was very much under the clock of trying to get it, completed. And, from what I understand, and this is alleged, that he didn't, in terms of the villains that he had, weren't the villains that he was anticipating that he would use. So, you know, he was kind of had his arm, you know, twisted in that way, not only with a component of who your antagonist is, but also trying to get it done within a certain period of time versus allowing him to take his time and get it done under the, you know, under the clock that, you know, he wanted to, you know, get it done. I feel like it might have turned out differently. It's not to say that Spider-Man 3 is like a horrible film, but it definitely feels congested and it feels like bloated in terms of all the things that it was trying to do. And I feel that that is a consequence of what how it was in making the actual film. So if we're talking about Avengers, you know, the Russo brothers have time and time again demonstrated that they can make great, you know, Marvel movies, whether we're
Hmm.
talking Winter Soldier, whether we're talking Civil War, whether we're talking, you know, Infinity War and Endgame. They demonstrated that they could do that. I feel like we should take a break from the Russos, give them some time to, you know, be able to do something else before asking them to come back to do another Avengers film. So perhaps, I know they have gone on record saying that they would like to do an X-Men movie. Let them do an X-Men movie. Like, they don't have to do an Avengers movie. Let them do an X-Men movie. If they can handle doing, you know, an Avengers movie that has an ensemble, they can handle doing an X-Men movie that has an ensemble. So I still feel like, you know, you can kind of keep the Russos in the, you know, in the Marvel family, so to speak, and they, you know, still having them do Marvel, you know, films, but, you know, provide them an opportunity to do something different other than just Avengers films. Now, my only concern in talking about doing an Avengers film for what is it, for Levi or Levy, is just the idea of the scope of the film. That was one of the things that worked to the advantage of the Russo brothers, in that it is such an epic film, and the scope and the work that's necessary to kind of bring that film to life would be such a drastic thing that it makes sense that you would need two directors to be able to handle that workload. Not to say that Levy wouldn't be able to do it, but despite the fact that Wolverine and Deadpool is, from what we can see, is a multiverse film, I feel like it's going to pale in comparison to what you're going to be asking with an Avengers level film. So, um, you know, I'm open to it. You know, I'm looking forward, of course, to Deadpool and Wolverine, but there are some concerns on one end, while there are also, you know, a lot of pluses to, you know, having him potentially direct the next film. I don't know if you have any final thoughts before we hop into Trailer Alley.
Yeah, I just think that they should save the Russo brothers for when they back up that Brinks truck to bring Iron Man back. I know that he's dead, but we know how
Quotation
the world
marks.
works. We
Yeah.
know it's a comic book movie. They bring back characters all the time. They bring back characters like who've been dead for like 60 or 70 years sometimes. So I could see them saving the Russo brothers for that bait to get um Robert Downey Jr. back. So
Okay.
we'll see. I just think that like you said, um, maybe the Avengers movies are much more grandiose in scope, but I can see how something like something the work that Shawn Levy has done will work with them. So that works for me. I guess we can move on to the last topic of the day. We get to these trailers.
For sure, for sure. So there were two trailers that dropped this week, y'all, and that being Venom, The Last Dance, and of course Alien Romulus. I want to get into Venom: The Last Dance first because I have so many thoughts about Alien Romulus. If you don't mind. So
Yeah.
of course we have The Last Dance being the third and from what I understand is going to be the final chapter in the Venom franchise, so making it into a trilogy. And I will say from what I've seen, first off, I will say that, and I made this comment when when the trailer dropped, is I don't know about y'all, but I knew that it was being made, but I had forgotten that it was actually like it was actually going to release in the near future. Like I thought that it was like earlier in its process. So, you know, it just goes to show there's so much happening in the world of film and TV and projects in terms of the development process. That some I feel some films for me actually fall through the cracks. But and this was actually one of them. Now I'm not mad at it falling through the cracks because you know it'd be cool to see another Venom film and to see if they can kind of make up for how the second one turned out. Let There Be Carnage. I didn't hate it, but it wasn't the first Venom in my opinion. So what were your thoughts on what you saw Spillman? Are you looking forward to this third film? Because it seems like much of the same to me.
I feel like it's much of the same, but I feel like that's the problem with the Venom character is that, while the Venom, hold on, ladies and gentlemen, hold on.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, hold on.
Yep. So I'm gonna give Spillman a moment there. You just needed to take care of something really fast that he needed to address. But yeah, as I was mentioning, Venom: The Last Dance seems like more, of the same in that, it appears that there are going to be other symbiotes, that there is another, creature from the symbiote homeworld, it would appear, that is going to make itself a villain or end up being a villain in this film. So outside of some of the casting additions that we have, there isn't really much else to kind of take from this film that would make one believe that they're getting anything different from what hasn't been seen before. Um, I know that there has been some news that has been going around about this potential installment, possibly seeing a Peter Parker in there, which is
That's what I was literally about to say. I was like, these movies are great and all. And even in the Marvel universe, Venom comic books are cool, but Venom isn't cool without Spider-Man being there. Like, unfortunately, it's the Peter Pan angle. Venom is Spider-Man's shadow. That's essentially what it is. It's an updated version of Peter Pan with a shadow. So if you don't have Peter Parker and Spider-Man in the movie, it's kind of like, why all these people look like Spider-Man, but Spider-Man ain't in the movie? It's kind of like the same gripe I had with the Gotham series. Sure, it's cool that we see Alfred being a bad guy, being a total cool dude or whatever. But for him to not be in the movie is just, you got to have Spidey in the movies, and it's like, I get that the Venom is the corporate entity of another not Disney thing. It's just not going to have Spidey in it, and we love Spider-Man, and that's what makes Venom cool, is that he's like kind of a more edgy Spider-Man, but he doesn't seem as edgy when he's a hero. Like it works sometimes in the comic books when Spider-Man is a hero, but also. When Venom is a hero, but Venom is supposed to be kind of like edgy. He has those teeth. Heroes don't have teeth and a scary tongue like that. That's for bad guys, right?
Yeah.
I wish that if they had Tom Holland in the movie, that would be good. I mean, they kind of teased that Spider-Man is in that Venom verse in the last Spider-Man movie. When they had that like goop come out when they were doing the thing, and also they showed Venom in the movie. Right. So for him not to be in that second movie against Carnage, and then we have a thing where it's chock full of symbiotes, but no Spider-Man, seems weird.
Yeah, no, I got you. So I guess I'll say is if we're talking about this franchise, if you're and again, this is a rumor that you may potentially have a younger Peter Parker in this film. While I guess you can kind of have it make sense of him being a variant, and the Venomverse being a a alternate universe within the tapestry of the entire Marvel timeline. While you could have that make sense, I feel like by trying to weave, so to speak, around the Spider-Man of it all, of including Spider-Man in your films, that it's felt like over the last three films they found ways to try to overcomplicate trying to include Spider-Man in this universe. And there have been so many ways, not even ones that I've come up with myself, that would make sense to kind of just make it neater in terms of where it would fit. I know a lot of people have said, have speculated, hey, this would, or have stated, this would be, awesome if maybe this was the Andrew Garfield universe. Like, that's easy. It already
It's
exists.
easy.
Yeah, it
You could
already
pop them
exists.
in there. It could explain. Okay, this guy's a little bit older.
Yeah.
The Venom thing that we already all know about already happened.
Right, and it's in San Francisco, so obviously it's not going to happen, in the same city where Spider-Man is, which is in New York. So it happens in tandem, and then eventually they cross paths with one another. It's an easy thing to do versus trying to create your own Spider-Man and then try to explain, okay, why is this from what I understand, this Peter Parker is going to be like, in elementary school. Why is this Peter Parker so much younger than Venom? Because he's going to need to be able to interact with Eddie Brock. So like, yeah.
Why does Eddie Brock have a beef with an elementary school kid or whatever?
Right, exactly. So like, unfortunately, they have kind of dug themselves in a hole with this franchise. While there are some parts of it that are fun, there were so many opportunities for them that already existed, that are already out there, that they could have, attached themselves to kind of have this make a bit more sense. And I feel like over the course of these three films, in terms of trying to establish some type of connection with the Spider-Man universe, they have overcomplicated it unnecessarily. So I'm interested to see, how it turns out. Even though I feel like there are a lot of story beats from the first film, like in the first film they had, the symbiote, crash land on Earth. In the prior film, they had multiple different symbiotes from what it looks like you have in this film. In the other film, you have the scene in which he gets on some type of mode of transportation that the symbiote takes over. In the first film, it was a motorcycle. In this one, it's a horse. So I don't know. We'll see. I am interested in checking it out, but I'm not going to say that I'm not skeptical in what was shown.
This feels for sure like an airplane movie to me. I have different categories of movies. Like, all right, I'll dedicate my Saturday afternoon to this. This is a movie where, all right, I got 3 hours on a plane. I can't possibly read a book in 3 hours, but I'll watch one of these movies I see. Ooh, Venom 3. I wasn't going to pay nobody money for this, but here I am captive. I'll watch this right now. So that
I wouldn't take it that far. So
I think so. So we'll see.
But okay. So in getting into the Alien Romulus portion of this, I wanted to save a little time for it because it's one of the films that are one of my most anticipated films this year. I love the Alien franchise, and to see what we have that has been demonstrated or shown in this trailer or teased in this trailer seems very promising. I wanted to be able to, I believe I have the trailer shared, so I wanted to be able to go into some of the stuff, but just initial impressions while I'm bringing this over, what are your thoughts on what they showed in this latest trailer? Oh, hold on. I'm sorry. You were muted. Go.
I'm sorry, that's my fault. I was having a little interruption. It seems like this movie is like, all right, we discovered where the aliens came from. We showed y'all beautiful landscapes. We back to what y'all know us for. We back to what y'all know us for. We were shooting 3-pointers and y'all just to show y'all we could shoot. But we know y'all want to see us dunk, so we dunking in this movie. So to me, I'm interested. like it's like that finals game where Mike shrugged. He was like, "Hey, maybe this guy is better. It is not better than me." But then he went right back to the Mike stuff because that's what we're here for. We're not here to see you do the cute stuff. We want to see you do the stuff. And like the things that they showed in the trailer from like the ground having that laser on the ground, that
Yeah,
ground
yeah.
laser effect, that's very
Uh-huh.
cool. All of this is just very exciting. So I'm interested in it. I'm gonna let you get yours off because you seem to be really into this iteration of Alien. So let's
For
get some of
sure,
these
for
screen
sure. So I
caps.
wanted to be able to dive into some of the things that, if we were just doing just a breakdown of what we have in the trailer, um, a couple of things that came to mind that I found really interesting. If I'm fast forwarding here through the trailer, now this is the part that Spillman was talking about. It's kind of reminiscent of the first Alien, where we kind of have, what is it, the derelict ship with the all the face huggers. We have all the alien eggs that are just beneath this film of laser film that we have here. So you have an allusion to that, which if you guys aren't aware, Alien Romulus is supposed to take place between the events of Alien and Aliens. And if you guys recall from Aliens, Ripley is asleep, and she's asleep for, I want to say, if I recall, it was what, like 50 years. So there's plenty of story or plenty of stuff that could have happened in between those two films that allow kind of like a bridge between the first film and the second film. And I'm sure we're going to have that in this film in terms of allusions to what we have in Alien and what we have in Aliens. So as I said, we have the laser there. We have our character who acts as our android, but I wanted to get into some of the other things that were alluded to in some footage that was shown. So if we see here, we have a scene. So there was a scene that was described happening at CinemaCon. CinemaCon is an event where they have movie exhibitors, and they have a lot of movies and films show footage from their upcoming projects, their upcoming slate. And at CinemaCon this year, they showed this scene where you have a character that has like an X-ray, of sorts, like an X-ray machine that she puts up to her chest. And if you're not aware, she has been face hugged, which, if you know from the Alien films, means that she has an alien inside of her. So they actually show that here with the X-ray that is shown. So we have that scene. So we know that that was in fact a scene that was shown at CinemaCon, because it was described a couple of months ago. And then we do have another scene that I want to get into. So there was a scene that was described also at CinemaCon, and the footage that they showed, where we had a scene involving, and let me preface this, because I understand there may be some folks who don't want to know all of this stuff. So just know that these are going in a bit into spoiler territory. Of course, I'm not giving like the ending of the film, but I am giving some portions of scenes in the film. So you have been warned. So you have this scene also that was shown during CinemaCon, where we have some of our characters that are walking in a portion of the facility that is flooded, and there are face huggers that basically are released into the water while they're walking around, and it actually the face huggers try to like drown them and things like that. And so we have that moment here in the trailer. So now we know that that scene was in fact something that was uh shown at what is it, CinemaCon. But another thing that I wanted to get into also is some scenes that people are kind of throwing up question marks to, or kind of unsure about, of like, what is this supposed to be. So we had this scene here that they show, where it shows what appears to be an alien's like hand or what have you. And in looking at this hand, I know a lot of folks are saying maybe this is like the new Alien, but I believe, and it's actually, and I can't take credit for it because it has been mentioned in other places as well, but I do agree that if we remember in Alien 3, we did have an indication that aliens are able to molt out of, their given skin. So like as they're continuing to grow, they continue to molt, especially if we're talking about that process where they're, a chest burster after they've already, broken out of a person and they're just like, an infant alien. There has to be some process for them to get from that point to an adult alien. So perhaps this is what we're seeing, that the alien is actually molting into its adult version. So I believe that that might be something, because I was trying to think, what is something that this alien film has an opportunity to do that we haven't seen in other alien films. And one thing that we've never seen in any alien film is that process of the alien actually molting. We've seen what happens after the fact, because like if I recall, in the third alien film, they show like the skin that the alien had already molted out of, but we never saw that process of it doing it. So I believe that that's what we're going to see. However, one other thing that isn't being mentioned out there among all of those theory videos is one other addition that I think we might get a demonstration of in this film is a different cast that is within the alien ranks. And you're probably talking about, what am I saying? I'm saying, so there is a cast known as a Praetorian alien. And I don't know if you're familiar with this, Spillman, but a lot of folks have speculated, like if we're talking about AVP, the second film. So what was that, AVP Requiem?
The one with Sanai.
No, that was the first one. The first one. So
the first one. Okay, yeah.
The sequel. I mean, it's so AVP Requiem. We had a alien predator hybrid that was able to, create alien eggs or deposit alien eggs, so to speak. But a lot of folks were speculating like maybe that was a Praetorian, but now I feel like in this film there is an opportunity to legitly have a Praetorian, which, if you don't know your alien lore, if memory serves, a Praetorian is basically that cast of alien that acts as a guard for the alien queen. However, when there isn't an alien queen in a given hive, it basically ends up being a young queen that has an opportunity to turn into a full-blown queen. And the only reason why I say that too, and why I make that speculation, is when we have this in the end of the trailer. I'm gonna fast forward a little bit. When they show this scene here, where is it? See if I can get it here. Here we go. So when we have this scene here, the alien that we see, which this of course is a Easter egg or a callback to Alien 3 when we have that scene with Sigourney Weaver, of course. But if we notice, while aliens are very tall in comparison to human beings, this alien seems like unusually tall to be like a normal adult alien, which makes me speculate that it may in fact be a Praetorian. It's not, as big as a queen, but it actually is going to be something that we've never seen in an alien film before, where an actual alien queen is evolving into one in this film. So that's my speculation. I have no proof of it, but we'll see what happens. Spillman, any final thoughts on things that you're looking forward to with this film?
I'm interested. Like I've said, they've been using a lot of practical effects, so I think that will lead to, more believability on screen, with just even the actors' reactions to things that are scary. That scene where it looked like the face hugger was coming out of the fog, that looked like a real thing that they threw at somebody. And
yeah,
I have a 4-year-old. He be throwing stuff at me. Even if it's soft, I do like that because I don't want to get hit by that. So
right.
the natural reactions to things will make the acting look better. So I'm excited to see what they do with this.
I was
Um,
gonna say they have some other crazy stuff that I didn't even allude to and showing that trailer. They have one scene where it seems like it's like zero gravity, where at first I thought it was like, you know, the membrane that you would have in the actual hive, like, you know, what they use to kind of have people stick to the walls. But when I looked more closely, it actually is alien blood. Like it's actually, and if we know aliens, we know that they have acidic blood. So to have a zero gravity scene where there's just alien blood just hovering like in the vicinity in zero gravity, that is, you know, quite an original scene that is, I'm sure, is going to be very memorable in being able to separate or allow this film to separate itself from the other installments of being unique among the franchise, because I don't think we've ever had anything like that before. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, Spill, but they do have that one scene that they do show where there is, let me see if I can pull it up here really quick. Um, so I am backtracking a little bit. We have this scene right here where it's just alien blood like everywhere. So like,
yeah.
how does what happens where, or what is happening in this film that it causes there to be zero gravity? And B, how is this character going to be able to make it through this scene of being able to navigate and not get hit by this blood that is basically just hovering, you know, in zero gravity? Like, how are you going to be able to avoid it, like in a scene like that? So I'm, as I said, very much looking forward to some of the things that they have shown in this film. Um, Again, hopefully they do show it at this year's Comic Con. I feel like if they don't, it will be a missed opportunity, because I feel like they will be able to get a lot of great buzz for the film out of Comic Con going forward. And much of the audience, let's be honest, would be at Comic Con too. I know there has kind of been a decrease in some of the screenings that have been done, because I've been going to con long enough where there used to be screenings pretty much every single year. You could count on them, and Hollywood has seemed to kind of pull back on that. And I understand it to a degree, because if we're talking about the audiences that you have for Comic Con, that only makes up a certain portion of the audience that you would have with the film. So while you know the audience for Comic Con would enjoy it, you want to make it, you know, diverse, or you want to make it the project good enough where it's not just niche, and it's something that can speak to a lot of people universally, even outside of the niche audience that you might have at Comic Con. But I would argue more than half of the percentage of audience that you would have for a film for Alien Romulus would in fact be at San Diego Comic Con. So it would, you know, um, do well, or speak well for the film if they manage to do that. So, uh, any last thoughts before we wrap up here?
Well, again, I'm interested in seeing it. Maybe, if we finally get Brandon to do a cosplay at a con, I could be an alien and he could be a different kind of alien. There you go.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I'll
Cool.
work on my backwards walking and the weird angular walks that they used to do with that stuff. So we'll see, ladies and gentlemen.
We'll see. We'll see. We'll see indeed. But that's going to wrap up this edition of This Week in Pulp Culture. Again, I'm your host, Brandon Choi. But before I get into some of those details, I'm going to punt it over to my co-host, Mr. Spillman Trueheart. Go ahead, sir.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. We've come. This is the middle of the year. It's blown past. Amazingly, it's June. So make sure you put your sunscreen on, because it's sun out there, and you don't want to get a mold that you don't recognize, because that could be cancer. But take care in the summertime. Hydrate, because you can get the heat stroke. And just enjoy yourselves. Check me out on Instagram here at Truly Spill. We love you, and we'll see you next time, guys. We'll see you next time.
All right, awesome. Well, as I said, thanks again to co-host Spillman. I'm your host once again, Brandon Choi, also host and co-creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. you can find us. And before I get into that, I want to also remind you guys, thank you guys so much for watching this live stream. But if you're watching it after the fact, whether you're watching it live or after the fact, know that you can also send. We do have that opportunity or that ability now to receive stars. So, if you enjoy some of the content that we do here, throw a couple of stars our way, or shoot us a like. Whether you are doing it on Facebook or on YouTube, send that thumbs up our way. But thank you guys so much. You can find me on X at Brandon Choi ENT, and also Brandon Choi _ENT on Instagram. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be safe out there, and of course, see you soon. Peace.
Peace.